Are you looking at how things apply to you specifically, or do you tend to just look at like the general application of something? And I'm asking this question because it's come up in a couple of communities that I'm in, and I wanted to know and get you guys to think about it. But one of the ways it's come up is kind of with Saturn being in retrograde and what that means. And a lot of the times, like, people just kind of look at like, oh, what's the general meaning of the planet that's in retrograde being in retrograde, and like, what are the effects there? And they kind of stop there, but you can actually get more specific than that. So if you you can like look at the impact of it on your sun sign, but you can also even just look at like, where is that planet in your natal chart and what house is it in? Like, so what area of life, essentially that's what the houses are you likely to see these effects play out most for you, right? Another group I was in was a podcasting group, and we started talking about human design, which I absolutely love, and I think it's really helpful. And one of the things that I appreciate about the system is that it's more about how we're different, right? Like how we're kind of varied from each other, and not in like a splitting apart way, but just like how you as an individual are uniquely you, and the unique patterns and the unique gifts and the unique challenges that you are kind of encoded with, right? Like that you're likely to experience and things like that. And so as we were talking about it, we were discussing kind of a couple of the women are starting to get into human design and wanting to look more at their chart and understand things. And so we just kind of started talking about how it's been helpful for me and what I enjoy about it. And one of the biggest things is like seeing the places where I can let go of shit because it's not mine to deal with and it has nothing to do with me, right? And so the example that I was giving them was oftentimes, so like I have gate 30 and I have the 6-line activation of gate 30, but gate 30 is all about, it's about experiences and having new experiences, but it's like the activation I have is specifically kind of about the best experience. And so how that shows up for me, best is a comparative, right? You can only have a best if there's something you can look at and go, oh, this or this. And so that's naturally what happens for me, and that's part of like how I'm designed to operate. But what was really funny is before I realized that, being in a lot of like the healing spaces and the wellness spaces and the spiritual spaces, one of the things that you hear a lot is kind of, if this thing is still coming up, there's still more healing work for you to do around it, right? Which usually that's kind of fair, right? But I kept having this thing come up, like, right? And I'm like, okay, so we're working on this issue. We've done a lot of healing around this issue, and it still comes up. And so I'm just like, how much more fucking healing do I need to do around this issue before like we're good, right? And the nuance there for me is how it comes up, right? So like if it comes up and it's still very charged and very emotional and things like that, yes, there's work to do. But if it's coming up because there's a similar situation or a similar experience that's happening, like it's going to be brought up so I can look at this new experience that I'm having and going, oh, is this the better experience than the other one, or was the other one better, right? So it's just been really interesting to start to realize and see like, oh, that's not applicable to me in that way, right? Like if it's charged, yes, I need to like look at it and play with it and sit with it. But if it's not charged, then like we're cool. Keep moving on. And another one of the like the aspects of human design that I really appreciate, right, is kind of this: we're meant to work together, right? Like every aspect and every type and all that is needed for the whole. And it's about like it helps you see more easily like how you can work together and what we can best leverage in each other, right? So for example, like I have an undefined splenic center, and with the undefined splenic center, one of the experiences that's very common with us is this like the not knowing when to let go, like not knowing when something has gone from like, okay, it's serving you, to like, this is now poison for you and you should release it, because it's becoming harmful. And very common for like open splenic centers and undefined splenic centers to have that, and we'll hold on and cling long after like we should have let go already. And so I have friends that have a defined splenic center, and the defined splenic center is like, they know when it's like, no, we're done. Like, it's over. It's done. Let it go. Release that. It's not helping me anymore. And they will recognize that and spot that very, very quickly, right? Like they feel it. It's just something that they process very well. So I've learned when certain people in my friends groups question something and they're like, really? Like, what, like, aren't you past that? Or like, should you move on for that? Or, haven't you spent enough time there or whatever to like consider it, right? Because sometimes when it's coming from people that aren't in the situation, or aren't going through that experience, whatever that experience may be, you're just like, okay, but you don't get it. So for those friends, when they start saying things like that, like, it's take a step back, right? Take a really big step back for a minute so I can get a bigger picture view, so I can then assess, like, is it actually time to let go? Like, am I holding on to this? And like, go ahead and release it, or decide that no, I think they're wrong, and hold on to it, right? Because ultimately it's still your life, it's still your experience, and you still get to do whatever it is that you are going to do. And that's fine, right? And that path will have a natural course to it, no matter which path you choose. But you still get to choose, right? But the difference is you get to choose from a place of potentially seeing both the options, as opposed to not even like having this other path be visible or this other possibility be visible, right? And what we get to call out in each other and call forward from one another to help us grow and to help us just flow better in life. And it's something that for me has been really special, and I like to be able to do that for the people that I'm around as well. So I love looking at people's charts and knowing what our like energetic creates and things like that. And it's also fun to like know who to go to for what, right, more easily. And like, granted, you're going to see that over time anyway, but there are just differences and nuances, and it's so much easier to spot, at least for me. Like, I've been studying human design for a while, but I was already working with a lot of the systems that human design synthesizes, so it's a more natural map for me. And also like seeing what potential patterns and potential gifts are just kind of inherent, and seeing some of those experiences, because I think a lot of times we judge experiences in a certain way, and it tends to get interpreted like as something being wrong, right? But oftentimes it's just an energetic, like it's just a thing that is, and then we're assigning it meaning and taking it all these crazy places. But when you understand that it is, like, it's not as impactful is not the right word, but it's not as it's not as emotional. It's not as heavily weighted one way or the other. It's just it becomes very neutral. And so those are some of the things that I just like and appreciate about the human design system, is that it does help show more how we can individually operate and be optimal and create optimal experiences for ourselves. And when we do that, we end up doing it for the collective, right? But if we're just looking at the collective only, that's not going to be as impactful. It's not going to be as valuable if we're only staying at that top level generic collective level. And that's not to say that the collective is not important. It is, but it's very much if I take care of my part, right, and you take care of your part, and we are part of the bigger whole, then by definition, like, that bigger whole is being taken care of, right? Because all the parts are being cared for and taken care of, and we can come together collectively, as opposed to trying to take care of all the parts, and like in that we end up ignoring like kind of our individual aspects. So that's what I wanted to share tonight. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.